When I was growing up, my family always hosted a wonderful break the fast dinner at Yom Kippur with relatives and good friends. Great food, great conversation. However, pretty much none of us had spent the day fasting. Are those laughs of recognition? Most of us at the meal were Jewish, and some of us had even attended services. But almost all of us came to dinner already having eaten breakfast and lunch. I attended this event annually as a child and a teen, but also at times as a college student, returning home, and even into my early 20s, young adulthood. Not once in all those years had I even attempted to fast. Knowing all of this, we still called it literally a break the fast dinner. Maybe there was a banner on the wall, I don't know. I suppose you could say we kept the title to honor those Jews who did abstain from eating and drinking over the holy day, but that would be a stretch. These days I do fast on Yom Kippur, fasting right now. I have fasted on this holy day going back probably 27 years, which is a long time, but still less than half my life. I like how not eating and drinking slowly wears me down until I am depleted of strength, resistance, and ego. In that state, I am more vulnerable, emotional, and open, less prone to rationalizations and excuses. This is the exact frame of mind and soul I need to get honest with myself about my flaws, my errors, my bad habits, and to commit myself to a course of making amends and getting on the path of positive transformation, which of course is the exact spiritual work of Yom Kippur. The Jewish mystics wrote that tears break through the gates of teshuvah. And for me, fasting seems to break down whatever it is that sometimes blocks me from crying. And crying can be so cathartic and purifying. And so somehow the fasting helps those tears flow more freely. I don't even break my fast right away when Yom Kippur finally comes to an end. I sit with that unique feeling that I only get once a year, because I only fast once a year. And then I only start my food intake slowly, and I start with an orange. And I've told this story before. That part, the orange part, I got from one of my favorite TV shows. I've been showing my confirmation class. They're like, is that from like the last century? Like, Northern Exposure. Autumn likes it too. There's an episode where Joel, the doctor who moves to Alaska, is observing Yom Kippur, and he slowly unpeels an orange in a gorgeous Alaskan mountain landscape. Probably how Lathan felt in Colorado, as the sun set on the Jewish Day of Atonement. So I eat the orange, and I just brought right back to that beautiful scene of the TV show. And then I'm ready for my latte, yum. And then finally, I'll eat a proper dinner. But even as a late to the observance confirmed Yom Kippur faster, which I am now, I am not embarrassed or ashamed about my origins as a non-fasting break the faster. In fact, I'm proud of it, and I'm glad it's part of my Jewish background. It serves as a reminder to me of something crucial. Listen to the words in English translation from the ancient book of Isaiah, the Hebrew of which our students so beautifully chanted a few minutes ago. This is what Isaiah says. We fasted, the people cry, but God did not see. We afflicted our souls. Why does God not care? It is because while you fasted, you cared about nothing but business and your finances. While you fasted, you quarreled and argued and even struck each other with fists. This is not the fast that will make your voices heard on high. Is this what you call a fast day? A day acceptable to Adonai? A day where you are supposed to afflict your souls? Bowing your heads up and down, covering yourselves in cloth and ashes? No, says Isaiah, channeling God. This is the fast I require, for you to loosen the chains of wickedness, to undo the bonds from those who are oppressed and bring them to freedom, for you to share your bread with those who are hungry and open your own house to those who are needy. When you see someone needing clothes, you clothe them. and you do not hide away from anyone who needs you, whether they are your family or friends or strangers to you. Then and only then will your light break forth like the dawn, and your step will have a steady spring. Then you shall have light brighten your darkness, your bones will be strong, and you shall be like a watered garden. Then you will be following righteousness. Then will God be at your back. Then when you call, God will answer. When you cry out, God will say, Hineni, I am here. While it would be inaccurate to suggest that the prophet Isaiah was advising people to ignore Torah and avoid the Yom Kippur fast, it is clear that he was prioritizing ethical behavior over ritual observance, and that at the very least, he is decrying people who fast as an end to itself, without any regard to using the fast as a means to the end of becoming a better human being. In fact, it was an incredibly bold and subversive move for the later rabbis to choose that biblical passage to be the Haftorah for Yom Kippur. I mean, imagine. They clearly understood that high holiday congregants would likely be feeling quite self-satisfied. Don't we feel pretty good right now? It's past noon, we're still here, right? Because we did everything we were obligated to do that Jewish law says we're supposed to do on this most holy of days. We attend shul, we pray, we recite confessions of sin, we clomp on our chests, we afflict ourselves by fasting. Then, crashing into these moments would come a reading, like the ones our students just read, from a biblical prophet, no less, that tells them that because their rituals are empty and rote, they're doing it all wrong. But talk about chutzpah. So, the Reformed rabbis of the 19th century had solid ground to stand on when they went a step or two further from Isaiah in a famous statement, writing, "The Bible, reflecting the primitive ideas of its own age, and we accept as binding only its moral laws and maintain only such ceremonies that elevate and sanctify our lives, but we reject all such that are not adapted to the views and habits of modern civilization. We hold that all such Mosaic and rabbinical laws that regulate diet, priestly purity, and dress fail to impress the modern Jew with a spirit of holiness. Their observance in our day is more likely, this is amazing, to obstruct rather than to further modern spiritual elevation." This led, as many of you know, to an era of Reformed temples banning the wearing of kippahs and talesim, families ditching their kosher kitchens, bar and bat mitzvahs being replaced by confirmation, Sabbath services on Sunday, true, instead of Saturday, and probably a great many break the fast dinners where nobody had fasted. Now, it is quite true that for many historical and sociological reasons, many of the ritual observances that had been thrown out came back to Reformed synagogues within a few decades. Furthermore, many contemporary Reformed Jewish leaders, my peers, are now quite embarrassed by much of that so-called classical Reform period. I certainly would not be surprised if I am alone this season in offering a sermon that quotes from the Pittsburgh platform of 1885. Maybe I'm wrong, you can Google it next week. But I think it was an important statement from an underestimated era. Because of those 19th century reformers, even when many of the rituals came back, when they returned, they had been effectively knocked down a peg or two. And to this day in liberal Judaism, universal human ethics are viewed as a priority over purely religious rituals, like fasting. The buzz term in Reformed Judaism has become informed choice. The notion that as modern people, each utilizing our own individual consciences and personal freedoms, we can study and survey the array of Jewish religious practices. From there, it is up to us to determine which ones bring meaning, holiness, and purpose to our lives, which ones create a sense of Jewish identity for us, and most importantly, which ones inspire us to do that which Isaiah himself prioritized, helping those who are vulnerable, pursuing justice, practicing generosity, and kindness. Some Jewish rituals will do that for you, and some won't. That is, we can choose among those traditional Jewish observances that are not themselves unethical, by the way. For some are actually out of the pale, such as assigning different religious roles based on gender, granting ritual privileges based on a defunct tribal hierarchy, and the swinging of a live chicken around one's head as a means of casting off sins, an actual Yom Kippur ritual that is still practiced in some traditional communities. And I witnessed it. Amy and I witnessed it in Jerusalem. So I believe it is important to make sure our wonderful community, all of us, and those watching on the stream, fully understands that there is no shame in picking and choosing religious observances. There are no Jews who are less than others based on how many rituals they practice. If you skip lighting Shabbat candles for a number of weeks or building your sukkah for a few years, you haven't failed. If those practices elevate you, come back to them joyfully when you're ready. And please know that your level of religiosity is not what defines you as a Jew. It is true that your practice may change over time, as I evolved from someone who never fasted on Yom Kippur to a person for whom fasting has become an important spiritual practice on this day. These changes can happen in the other direction as well. A Jewish ritual that had been a regular part of your life might decrease in frequency over time or disappear from your practice of Judaism entirely. Though I have lived in a kosher home for 25 years because Amy keeps kosher, I highly doubt that I will ever keep the Jewish dietary codes at restaurants, events, or other people's homes. The kids and I even convinced Amy during the COVID lockdown that our back deck could be a treif zone. For the three of us to eat non-kosher meals outside, but still on our property. Thank you, Amy. A number of years ago, a dear congregant was in the hospital over the high holidays. I visited her the day before Yom Kippur, and a fellow CRC member happened to call her cell phone, and I picked it up because she was resting, and I said hello, and I gave an update on our friend. Rabbi Randy, she said, please tell our patient that I'm going to miss our annual lunch after Yom Kippur service. And then she said, oh my God, I'm sorry. I can't believe I told the rabbi that. She needed to have worried about me. I honestly don't judge in either direction. Those who choose not to fast and those who feel they and their family are obliged or even commanded to do so. You're all doing the right thing. Whatever your practice, I hope that this challenging, wearying, but hopefully deeply meaningful Yom will lead us to what Isaiah envisioned: more kindness, increased generosity, greater moral responsibility, deeper relationships, and an increase to our commitments to making the world a better place. And when it ends, may you have a wonderful break the fast meal, whether or not you spent the day fasting. Gemar Tov, good Yontif.